everybody, Weeb here, and welcome back to the Otaku Overload podcast, episode 32. This week, I am pretty excited. If you guys tuned in last week, we had the Nintendo Direct episode, which was pretty fun. And then I said at the end of that one that this week, I hope to do the roundup of the spring 2023 anime season. And sure enough, I have that going. And so what I wanted to say is that we're going to do this podcast a little bit differently. I thought in order to balance it out, what we're going to do is we're going to have Legend of Jonathan talk about his week first. Then we're going to talk about the news. And then I'll talk about all the anime because I have like 8 of them to talk about. So I think that's a pretty good order to kind of balance it. And yeah, I'm excited. I thought there was a pretty good anime season. I had quite a few anime that I really enjoyed. So yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty good episode. With that being said, though, mentioned him a little bit earlier. Legend of Jonathan is here. How are you doing, my dude?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I am doing pretty good. Pretty excited to talk about some stuff.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited with the stuff that I watched. Pretty excited still with some of that Nintendo Direct news from, like last week or whatever. Still kind of riding high on that. So, it's been pretty good lately. So I'm doing fine,
Yeah, nice,
Yeah. Alrighty. So, as I was mentioning, I, of course, only really focus on anime. So my half will come, my part will come at the end. But as for you, what did you want to talk about? What did you do this week? What have you been up to lately?
Okay, so you mentioned Nintendo Direct. Funny enough, during the Nintendo Direct, they obviously announced Pikmin 4, that there was going to be a demo at the end of the month, and that there was a little bonus that was unexpected that they were throwing in for us, that the same day of the Direct, Pikmin 1 plus 2 were coming to Switch. And so I'm like, well, I haven't played Pikmin 1, like I haven't finished it. And back when I played it on the GameCube, I sucked at it. Pikmin 2, I got it when I was a kid for the Wii, and I was like, I sucked at that game too.
So both of them are like a thing you had played but never quite finished, sort of thing.
Yeah, and then since Pikmin 3, the original, I tried to play, and same thing, I kind of sucked. The point is, there's a common, of me sucking at the game.
Sucking at the game.
Yeah. I was
hey,
like, no, bro.
Don't feel bad. You know who else sucks at video games? Terrific.
Oh, yes, sure, he does.
Throw him under the bus. I don't know. Shouts to Terrific. He as we're talking, his wife might have given birth to a second kid, so just want to throw him under the bus a little bit, but shouts to Terrific.
Yeah. Especially at Super Sunshine, bro.
Oh,
especially that. Yeah, I love mentioning that all the time.
That's funny. Yeah, I know what you're talking
about. So I was like, you know what? No, like we're definitely gonna play the games. I need to finish them. And oh my god, dude! Like I mean, I get it. Like people have explained the stuff. I played Pikmin 1 first because I wanted to go by obviously story, and it's logical to start from 1 to like 4. I played Pikmin 1. And oh my god, I mean, it was fun. I loved it and everything. And it was a challenging game. But like the Pikmin's AI though was like, oh my god, dude, these little guys like I feel like sometimes they were kind of stupid, to be honest.
Is it that bad?
Like it kind of is to an extent. Like it's not like, oh my god, it's so terrible that like I can just like absolutely hate the game either. But like if I was to rate it on a scale of like 1 to 10, I would put it like at an 8 or like a 7 around there. Just because like the AI kind of does make you like get like rage moments, because like there's moments where like literally you'll be like, hey guys, we're gonna cross a bridge, and then all the Pikmin, instead of crossing the bridge, they'll like start falling into the water, and then they'll start drowning, and then they'll die.
Oh god.
And so at first I was mad,
so
right?
They feel like lemmings, they're all like suicidal.
Exactly. It's like lemmings, basically, where you have to like control them like precisely. You need to know what you're doing. Sometimes they'll do is like automatically, without you telling them, they'll run to attack an enemy, but then they'll get themselves killed because they don't know how to fight.
Oh my god.
So it's like stupid where it's like, it'll be like a frog, right? And like frog ones, you want to make sure that you swarm the frog so it's like too heavy so it doesn't like jump and then kill them all. the stupid pigmen, the stupid pigmen, they'll run towards the frog, and the frog will already be in the air, and they'll look up at the frog, and then they'll get themselves killed. It's stuff like
Okay.
that where it's like, dude, or like they'll stand in front of the enemy, and the enemy will eat them, and then they'll just take it like nothing. They won't run away. They won't like listen to the calls immediately. They won't run quick. No, like they'll like run towards you, but it's like too late, and then they'll get eaten. They'll get like gone. They'll be gone like the next split second. It's stuff like
Jeez,
that where it's
man.
like, dude, or like it'll be like you'll be trying to grab like items, and then like the pigmen, they're just like, nah, like let me get like this nectar real quick so I can like mature quick or something like that. And I'm like, bro, I'm trying to grab the item. Just like listen to me. It's stuff like that where like it's so like it frustrates me, you know.
Dang. It
But I
kind of
did
makes
be
sense though that, it was the first game, so they're probably still trying to figure some of that
mhm,
stuff out. I mean, some of the AI, even like anytime you think about like games, even sometimes when you have to have a what do you call it, like a escort mission stuff, like a
mhm.
partner, it can be tricky. So I could kind of imagine that, maybe stuff wasn't the best.
Yeah, because I'm like telling you, like sometimes you'll be crossing a bridge and you have to like press like for the Switch version, you have to press L plus the right stick. On Wii, I think you have to press Z, then you move the cursor around, and then on the GameCube, I think it's just a C button or C stick or something like that. That's where you can swarm the Pikmin around. It allows you to move them in certain directions. So literally to cross a bridge, you have to do that. If not, they'll just fall into the water and decide to kill themselves, basically. So like the first time around, I was getting pissed because they were killing themselves. But at one point, I really did start laughing, and I'm like, "Ah, you guys are dumb." But then I was like, "No, like I know a bunch of people are gonna be mad at me for like the fact that I laughed at them for like doing that." Um, but yeah, the first game's pretty good. I would say that it's like an 8 out of 10. I got 29 out of 30 pieces of Olimar's ship because if you guys don't know, the gimmick of the first game, the whole like theme, like the whole plot is that you're supposed to collect ship pieces because basically Olimar crashes on the Pikmin planet. He got ambushed by a meteor, I mean asteroid, and he's stranded on the Pikmin planet and he needs help. And so he gets the Pikmin, he collects all the pieces, and the point is you have to get home, you know. So I got 29 out of 30. Unfortunately, I tried getting the 30th piece, but I gave up because it was too hard. Like it was the final boss basically. And yeah, like the game's pretty good. I do definitely recommend it to you guys. I know it's very, like I mentioned, it's pretty stressful and frustrating, but same thing, I do definitely recommend it. It's a pretty good game. Um, the music's pretty good, and it's a good introduction to like, that whole franchise, if anything, you know. Um, and then afterwards I played Pikmin 2. I'm like 70% done with the game actually, because it's like a pretty quick game. Um, I got like 70% of the stuff so far, and I would say that's a huge improvement over Pikmin 1. Like the AI is more accurate, the Pikmin will actually listen to you. When you're crossing a bridge, the Pikmin actually cross the bridge with you. That's something as well. And yeah, I think that if I was to give it a rating, I would give it like a 10 out of 10, honestly, compared to
That's
the
pretty
first
cool.
one. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Sounds pretty cool that, had a good experience with it despite the AI and stuff.
Yeah, dude, that like I don't even oh my God, dude. Yeah, it was bad for certain parts, yeah. And I've been watching Evangelion still. That's something different from the video games.
Mhm.
But in the meantime, I'm not really gonna talk about it because I'm not done with it. Once I'm done with the anime, then I watch like I think like the second movie because I think the first movie is just like a recap or something like that. Once I'm done with like the original series, I'll talk about that, you
Yeah,
know.
I think that's where the anime always kind of confuse me because sometimes they'll be like almost the same thing, but just like condensed. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
maybe they add like a
Hmm.
couple things. So I would look it up just to see if there is anything different from the series because maybe they'll add some stuff. But yeah, I know what
Yeah.
you mean. I know that sometimes they do that with movies where like they'll have like a movie version and it'll literally be like, isn't this just like a recap or like a condensed version of like the the series. You know, like they do that with like some of them where like it'll like condense like a season down or something or whatever.
And they just put in an hour-long thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're gonna like, you know, yeah, maybe you could skip to the second one, but I would say just make sure. You know, obviously.
Just check the first one to see if there's any
Yeah, because
differences.
I don't remember too good. You know.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I remember I have like watched, but I just don't remember. But yeah, it's
yeah.
good. You know, obviously, yeah, if you want to watch the whole thing first and then give your overall thoughts on everything, I think that's a pretty good idea because that way you can have all your thoughts together and you know, it's pretty good. And then yeah,
Yeah,
hopefully
yeah,
after
yeah.
you watch the first um sorry, that was the first season. After you watch the series, then after that you can watch like
The rebuild movies.
the movie and then like the other movies, I don't know if we would call them reboots, but
I think
almost,
it's called
right?
Rebuild. That's what they call them, or something like that. The Rebuild series, or something like that.
Yeah, because I know they
Hmm.
go in a different direction. And I mean,
Hmm.
I haven't watched all of those either, so I should probably at some point try to watch those if I can too. That'd probably be a good
Hmm.
idea.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool, cool, cool. So a lot of Pikmin after we take up your
Oh my
time,
God, yeah.
and some
Pikmin,
Evangelion. That's pretty cool.
alien stuff and mech stuff. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. All right, all
Yeah,
right. And that's it for you then.
yeah, pretty much.
All right, cool, cool, cool. So at this point, this is where I would talk about my week, but like I said, it's all anime. So we're gonna then skip over to the news instead. So a little bit of a change of pace for this podcast episode. Going over to the news though, we have some pretty interesting news stories. The first one just came out earlier today, I guess. No, actually came out a couple of days ago. I don't know. I don't I
It
don't
was
even know.
recent.
Yeah, the point is it's recent. I don't even know why I bother because then people try to look it up. It's not like they don't know when we record this anyway. I don't even know why I went
Yeah.
there. And the point is they're all recent. The point is, as I'm reading this, it's recent. So yes, as the title of the article states, Red Dead Redemption rated in Korea in 2023. Just reading that, you might wonder what does that mean? What does it mean that it was rated in Korea?
Yeah,
What
yeah,
it's
yeah.
saying is that basically, if the game already exists, you know, in a country, then it already has a rating. But for it to be like re-rated in that country, that means there would be like a remaster, like a port, or something like that. And that's where it gets exciting because if you read the article, you know, Red Dead Redemption, the first game, originally came out on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 you know, around like 2010. And since then, we've never gone in like a PC port or like a remaster for, you know, like
Hmm.
PS4 or PS5 or anything. Like it's just been stuck on those two systems. And so the fact that it got rated in Korea, yeah, I've noticed that happens a lot too. Sometimes that's where we get like some leaks from. For some reason, it
Hmm.
happens in
Hmm.
Korea first, which is kind of funny. Um, that's exciting because that means that like, oh, if it's got rated in Korea, that means there might be like a remaster in the works or some sort of a port or something. And you know, that's kind of where it gets exciting because people, you know, enjoyed the game, and it's been years since you know it's been available to play. You know, unless you pull out one of your older systems. So for it to get like a port to PC, a lot of people would love that. That way, you know, once it hits PC, you know, that's really good in terms of being able to like archive it and you know mod it and all that
Hmm.
good stuff.
Especially
So
the mods. I know a lot of people are gonna be modding it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it's also just good, like I said, for just archiving it because then once it's out there, you know, you can always just like download it and save it and it, you know, it
Have
doesn't
the
become
files and
lost.
everything.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't become lost media.
Hmm.
Or if it's a port, you know, like a remaster, like an upscaled port or something, that's still pretty cool. Because once again, people, you know, they like being able to not have to pull out their old system. You know, being able to play on their current system is pretty cool. So we don't really
Yeah.
know what the deal is yet, but that's the good sign. And we'll have to wait and see if yeah, if something happens, you know, maybe they'll announce it for like the holidays or something. That would be kind of a cool little surprise, like, oh, you know, for the holidays, you
Here's a
know,
port.
a port of Red Redemption, the first game or something. That'd be kind of cool. But of course, like I said, we have to
Yeah.
wait. But still, it's pretty cool stuff. So I thought that was a pretty interesting story.
Yeah.
Then the next one, this is also a really interesting one, and it kind of has to do with the ongoing battle of Microsoft versus what is
Sony.
it, like the FTC? Well, it kind of has to do with Sony
Oh.
as well, but it has to do more with Microsoft versus like the FTC and the fact that they want to buy Activision Blizzard and all that, and they've
Mm-hmm.
been kind of they've kind of been blocked for a while of doing that, blah blah blah. So, as the title of this article states, Microsoft exec was ready to go spend Sony out of business to strengthen Xbox.
Damn.
And basically, a little blurb, under that, it says internal email shows Microsoft's early thinking on acquisitions to drive Xbox Game Pass growth. So basically, anyone who's kind of up to date, they know that Microsoft, in order to really strengthen their Xbox Game Pass, which is their library of, oh, you pay a certain amount every month, and you're able to like access this whole library of video games. In order to help, make that grow, not only do they have, like all the Microsoft exclusives, and not only do they make deals to have like indie games on there, sometimes like day one, but they also, have all like the EA titles on there. They have, Bethesda because they bought them out. They're trying to maybe see if they can get, Activision Blizzard. That way they can get a bunch of those games as part of, Game Pass and stuff. So, they've been buying up a lot of studios, is the point, to try to, really
Yeah.
expand their library. And if you read the article, yeah, apparently it says at some point, in order to really outsell Sony and really really like strengthen their Game Pass and try to sell more units, that they were willing to spend as much money as possible and acquire more companies. And it's really interesting because it talks about in the article that yes, they bought Bethesda for 7.5 million, which is crazy. They want to buy Activision Blizzard, which is still kind of up in the air. And then it says at some point, apparently, they had thought about acquiring Sega and Bungie. And so, like, that's really interesting, especially because Bungie, ended up going to Sony. Sony ended up buying
Mm-hmm.
Bungie. So, like, that's pretty, interesting to think about a world where what if, like, Microsoft got to them first?
Yeah.
And then Sega is also a really interesting one because, like, damn, Sega comes with, like, a lot of stuff you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Atlas, for instance, makes, like, the Persona games and a bunch of stuff. They're under Sega, and like
Mm-hmm.
Sonic is under Sega, a whole bunch of stuff. So that's a really interesting one to think about.
Microsoft owning them, that would be
Yeah,
crazy.
that's really crazy. But we know that since then, I read somewhere else that yeah, Sega said that no, they're not interested in selling. They wouldn't have sold to like Microsoft anyway. I read that somewhere else, afterwards. But it's still kind of interesting just to think about that. Like what if they had gone for it, because like
Yeah.
yeah, to see all these companies that Microsoft has bought to try to like expand their Game Pass or whatever. It's just really interesting to think about like, damn, what if they just bought even more companies and stuff? But yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, the story, like I said, it's ongoing. Them trying to buy Activision Blizzard has, revealed a lot of stuff. It's an ongoing battle. But it's really interesting to hear news like this and kind of just get to see like a peek behind the curtain, I guess you can call it. It's always really
Yeah.
interesting. So I just thought this was a really interesting article. And it just really makes you think, what if they really had gone to like Bungie first? And,
Sega,
Sega
yeah.
says they're not interested, but like, I don't know, maybe depending on how much they were offering me, they would have gone for it. I don't know. So.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. And finally, the last news story. Like I said, but they're all pretty short little news stories, but I think they're still pretty fun to share. And this is one that this is like a pretty interesting one. This really came out of nowhere. But as the article's title states, new Spice and Wolf TV anime reveals 2024 debut, returning cast. So this is a really interesting one because Spice and Wolf, I would say it's kind of one of those. At this point, I think it's been long enough that I would call it one of those that you can kind of consider a classic, where it's based on like a light novel and I think a manga
Mm-hmm.
series, and it's all about this guy. Like, he's a traveling merchant, and he goes from town to town, selling stuff, and he meets a wolf goddess, and the wolf goddess, her name is Hollow, and basically it's about how they start traveling together, and there's a bit of like a romance and stuff. And it's one of those that's like really interesting because, like I said, it's a classic. At this point, a lot of people have watched it. Had 2 seasons. People had always hoped that they would make more because there's more to the story. And Hollow's supposed to be like a really interesting character. A lot of people consider her, one of those like top tier waifus and stuff. And it's just one of those anime that
Yeah.
like a lot of people who know about anime know about the series. They've watched the series, and they've been disappointed that it kind of stopped after the second season, and it really didn't go farther than that. And yeah, it's been dormant since. Let me see if I can find when was the last time it. Because I believe trying to see if you can tell me when the seasons came out. There we go. The first season aired in 2008. Yeah, the second one was right after 2009. So it has been basically dormant since 2009. So that's a lot
And
if you
they
think about
never
it.
made anything afterwards. That's
Yeah, so that's
crazy.
really crazy. And so the fact out of nowhere, they're like, yeah, new TV project. It's really crazy. But if you read about it, it makes sense because they say that they're trying to celebrate like the 15th anniversary. So that's really cool. And I guess from what I've seen, even though it's not like quite confirmed, a lot of people are saying that from what they've read, it's a, I would say it's mostly confirmed based on like what, if you look at the article and if you look at like comments that people left and stuff, it
Yeah.
looks like it's like basically a reboot.
So
So kind
they're
of like
just
what they
going from
did,
start with
yeah, kind of,
Ursa.
yeah, kind of what they did with Orisei and stuff. It looks like what they're
Hmm.
planning to do is kind of starting from the beginning, remaking it, all over again, and then maybe it doesn't say here, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe this time they do try to go farther. They
Hmm.
went last time. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool, and it's pretty exciting. And it's really cool too that it has returning cast. That's always a nice thing when it has a returning cast. That's cool. That way, it's not like, oh, it's all new people. It's like, oh, if you like the original people and they're still around and the quality's still pretty good, it's nice to see the cast return. And the guy who created Spice and Wolf, the author, it's cool that apparently he's going to be involved too.
Nice. So, they're getting the stuff directly from like the source, basically, if anything.
Yeah, I'm trying to read. Yeah, the main voice actors are returning. It looks like the guy who obviously made Spice Wolf, it looks like he is involved. And the guy who was the director looks like, yeah, he's also directing. Although it says is returning to the franchise this time as chief director. So I don't know what the difference might be there. But at least the point is that a lot of people who were involved the first time, they're returning. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is exciting. That is pretty cool. I know I saw, I think I was telling you earlier before we started that there is some fans who are like, why? I feel like the anime isn't that old, which is kind of true. If you compare it to like Urusei, for instance, which is from like
Which
what, like
is
the eight,
40 something.
yeah, it is kind of true that if you compare it to like Urusei, which is like from the 80s, getting remade in 2023 or whatever, it is true. Like, oh, this is from like 2008, 2009. It's not that far back. So I kind of get what they mean that like it is kind of weird to get like a remake slash reboot instead of just like a new season. But at the same time, I do get it. That's like one of those things where it's like, hey, it's been 15 years. They're trying to celebrate. So they're trying to celebrate by, hey, let's, do like a little reboot, remake thing. And like I said, maybe this time they'll go even farther with the story. And I think it's always a good thing, when you can bring in a new audience. I think that's always a nice thing. Get attention to like the franchise and, the source material and stuff.
Yeah.
So, is it kind of weird? I mean, I guess it is true that it's kind of weird that like, it's not that old, but still, it's always, I think it's always nice when you can get new eyes on a project. And even for like the people who are already a fan, just, the return, it being on TV again, being able to talk about it on social media with people, I would think that's exciting, So
Yeah.
I hope it goes well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty cool. And yeah, it says 2024 debut. So that is not far away at all. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's pretty close.
Yeah. Alrighty, and that is it for the news for this week. As you can see, they're all pretty short, but I still think they're all pretty cool in their own way, pretty interesting. And yeah, as we continue farther into the year, Yeah, I just wonder, especially with we got a lot of like game news, obviously, because of Game Fast and Direct and stuff. I do wonder what other anime news we'll get, because I feel like there was a lot of announcements. There's a lot of stuff, especially stuff that people didn't really think would get adaptations. Just as an aside, like I remember like Komi Can't Communicate was one that people have been saying, like, I don't even know if that's even like possible for it to get like a anime adaptation, and it's gotten like what, like 2-3 seasons already.
Yeah,
There's like a few that people had like for a long time been like wondering if they would get an adaptation, like really popular ones, and they already did. So I'm kind of wondering what stuff we can look forward to. Like, what's the next big batch of stuff to look forward to as we continue on.
yeah,
So that's kind of interesting to think about. So that's kind of what I've been thinking about lately, since anime's been on the brain for me. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Speaking of anime being on the brain, so this is the part where I want to do my spring 2023 anime roundup. But ironically enough, I'm gonna start this roundup with an anime that's actually from winter 2023. And the reason for that is that I don't know if anyone remembers that when I was doing the winter 2023, anime, I mentioned that there was a couple of anime that got delayed. One of them was Near Automata, which unfortunately it's still delayed. I believe that's finally gonna, get more episodes in July. So if that ever happens, that's when I'll talk about it again, I guess. But the other one, if anyone remembers, was a little anime called Kubo-san Won't Let Me Be Invisible.
Oh yeah,
And if anyone remembers, I said this is one that was, it's pretty sweet. Basically, it's pure diabetes into the veins, where it's about this guy that his name is Junta. And you can almost describe, he's almost like a cryptid, where basically for some reason he's invisible to people. Like literally the teacher will be like, has anyone seen Junta today? And people are like, I don't know, I didn't notice if he was like at school today. Was he here today? Like people like comically don't see him. Like it's like really over the top.
damn.
But I guess it's also supposed to be kind of like maybe like a metaphor that like, I get it, because he's just like so like average, and he kind of like isn't what you would think of as like a main character for like an anime, I guess. That's what I'm guessing. It's supposed to be kind of like a metaphor. So that's why like nobody really notices him, because he's just such a quiet, just average guy, I guess, maybe.
Yeah,
And so yeah, people don't notice him, whatever. But the one person that does notice him is this girl called Nagisa Kubo. And it's this girl that she's supposed to be like really pretty, really popular. And for some reason, she, gets seated right next to him. And she's the only one who seems to be able to always notice him. Like, she'll even say, like, oh, I was just talking to Kubo. I'm not Kubo-san. I was just talking to like Junta. And people will be like, really? He's here? And she's like, yeah, he's like right there. And she'll point to him. And that's when people will notice him. It's like really over the top. It's really funny.
yeah,
But really, it's just like this really cute series about this guy who's basically invisible to everybody. Nobody really notices him. And about this girl that for some reason, she just has like this really weird fascination with him. And she can always spot him. And it's about their little friendship and the little romance that develops and stuff. And it's just really cute. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Like I said, I thought it was basically, diabetes. Funny enough, this
yeah.
I thought this was like as
Mhm.
far as like the diabetes thing would go. But then something that came out this season, I think it's even more pure diabetes. So I'll talk about that later. But yeah, this I thought was like pure diabetes, but it takes like second place now. But yeah, it's still like really fun. So if you like stuff that's just really lighthearted, has like, kind of like a little romance and stuff, I'd say that it's really good. And it's just like really funny too. Like I said, just like the joke of like no one noticing him except her and stuff, and how she like teases him and stuff. And it's also really cute where it shows that like, oh, like she wants to do like nice stuff for him, and like her sister will like notice her older sister, and so her like older sister will tease her and stuff too, and it's just really cute.
Yeah,
So yeah, Kubo-san Won't Let Me Be Invisible, also known as Kubo-san wa Mob wo Yurosanai. It's
yeah.
12 episodes, just finished airing recently because like I said, it got delayed. So it is technically from winter 2023. But it's really good. Really enjoyed it. if you want to watch it, it's over on High Dive. So that's the one where, a lot of people are more used to Crunchyroll. I think High Dive is just as good of a service. I think it's really like lately, it's really stepped it up with a lot of the series that's managed to snatch up. And it's not expensive at all. I think it's like, oh my god, it's like $3.99, $4.99 a month or something. Like it's not expensive at all. It's like a pretty good deal.
So that's
And
a
like
pretty
lately,
good. Yeah.
yeah, lately they have like a lot of like anime on there. So I would say, even though a lot of people are like really like, oh, Crunchyroll, that's the one that people usually like flock to. I would say like High Dive's worth it. And this was on High Dive. So I would say, if you have High Dive, if you're thinking about getting it, High Dive,
Yeah.
it's been stepping it up, so pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's on High Dive. It's 12 episodes. It is over now, so you can go watch it. And yeah, I would probably give it like a 7.5, maybe an 8 out of 10. I thought it was pretty enjoyable. I thought it was pretty cute. I always had fun with it. And yeah, if you like little romance slice of life stuff, then I think you will like it. So there you go.
Nice.
After that, we're kind of struggling to think of what order to really tell these in. I wish I had like a particular order, but it's kind of like in random order. So, if you don't think it's like, oh, I'm doing it like in terms of my least favorite to like most favorite, any of that, they're just kind of all over the place. So the next one that I have, is one that I never mentioned watching it. I ended up just picking it up kind of like in the middle of the season, never really ended up discussing it before, but it is a series I know I've talked about before and given praise to. And so this next one is a spin-off to the main KonoSuba series, which the main KonoSuba series is like it's like KonoSuba. I think it's like God's blessing on this world or something like that. Is it
Yeah,
the
it's
full
something like
name?
that. It's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then this one is called KonoSuba, an explosion on this wonderful world. And basically it is like a spin-off of the main series, and it focuses on the character of Megumin. For anyone who hasn't watched KonoSuba or needs a little bit of a refresher, KonoSuba is all about this guy named Kazuma that basically in the real world one day he thinks he's gonna save this girl and he ends up dying. And then the goddess that like is like telling him like about how he died, she ends up telling him and laughing in his face that he thought he was saving this girl, but he wasn't. It was actually like this slow moving tractor that he pushes her out of the way of. And then he was so scared that he had like a heart attack and pissed himself. There's like a bunch
Damn.
of stuff like that's like really embarrassing is the way he dies, right? It's just making fun of him. So when she says she can reincarnate him in another world, as revenge, he takes the goddess, Aqua, he takes her as his one cheat item instead of like a superpower or like a weapon or whatever. And then from there, Kazuma and Aqua basically, in order to survive in that world, they take up the job of like, you call them like bounty hunters or whatever. And they form a team with another girl named Darkness, who's like a masochist, and a girl named Megumi who makes explosions. And basically, the whole point of Megumi, her gimmick, is that she can make these really powerful explosions, but she can only do it once a day, like a huge explosion. And then she's like worthless for the rest of the day because she has to like regain her strength. And so in the main series, that's like the joke that she like refuses to like learn any other magic. She just like uses her one explosion and then she's like useless. And so that's why Kazuma hates his life because he has like this party of girls that are all useless and they make his life miserable. And the main series is really funny. I really like it. I would say it's like one of those isekai that's like really worth watching, really turns a lot of the tropes on its head. And it's really good. Like the comedy's great. I think it's a great isekai because a lot of isekai it's just like, oh, the guy is overpowered. It's all wish fulfillment. You know what I mean? So I think it's really fun. Long story short, this spinoff is all about Megumin and how it's about her time when she went to the academy to, study her magic and be a magic user and all that.
Yeah.
And we see her and her, team of other Crimson demons or whatever. That's like the name of like the tribe. And we see more of her friend Union, who's her like rival and childhood friend that she comes on the main series and odd stuff.
Yeah.
And it's all right. I wouldn't say it's the best. Like it's still funny, it's still charming, the characters are still good. Just the reason I would rank it low, I get like lower, I guess, is that it really, it really like what makes Konosuba so good is the characters. Like Kazuma and Aqua and Darkness and Megumin and how they bounce off of each other and stuff. So without the other characters, I feel like that's what it lacks, basically.
It doesn't how do you call it? It doesn't balance well, I guess you could say, because of then everyone else not being involved.
It's not that it doesn't balance well either. It's not like I said, it's not like there's like a like oh it's like terrible or anything. Because like it's still funny,
Yeah.
the characters are still good, but it just feels like you missed the other characters.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
So it's not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just that it's like, damn, I really miss the other characters. You can definitely feel their absence, that sort of thing. So it's not that I would say it's bad. It's just one of those things where it's like, ah, man, I really miss their characters. As a spinoff, it's fine, I guess. But I don't know. I guess it's just one of those things where, like, we had a season of Konosuba, then we had a second season, then we had a movie. Then it's kind of like, okay, are we gonna get a third season? What's gonna happen? We finally hear about another, thing, and then it's kind of like, oh, it's like a thing based on Megumi, not bad,
Yeah.
And then we do get to see their characters. Not like their characters aren't around at all either, but it's just one of those things where it's like, I just wish they'd given us a third season. I guess that's like just for me. I wish we had gone a third season, instead of it being like a spin-off on Megumi that lasts like 12 episodes. I wish we had just gone like a little arc in the third season of like giving her like 3 episodes or something, maybe.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not bad by any means. I'm not saying like it's bad, but it's just one of those things where it's like, I really wish we got more Konosuba with like the whole gang. You know what I mean? It's like instead of like a little
Yeah.
spinoff. So I guess that's it, but it's not like a big deal. It's just one of those things where like, I wish it could have been better, but it's fine. It's not a big deal. I know on my anime list it has a 7.5. Yeah, 7.53 out of 10. That's probably what I would give it. I would rate a little bit lower than Konosuba because I think Konosuba is like really, really great. So I'd probably just say it's 7.5. It's like an 8. It's not terrible, but it's just one of those things where it's like, it's fine. It's a spinoff. It's whatever. I just kind of wish that, hopefully after this, I kind of hope we just get a third season. That's what I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and then this one is on Crunchyroll. So there you go. If you want to watch it on Crunchyroll, you can watch it on Crunchyroll. It was 12 episodes. And yeah, I guess it just really depends on how much you like Megumin. Like, I really do like Megumin, so I enjoyed it. But I know some people, it might not be their favorite character. So who knows? Maybe for some. Maybe they'll like it even less than I did, honestly. But,
Yeah.
But I recommend it. I still thought it was fun. But it's just one of those things where it's like, I really want a third season. So that was my thing, which,
Yeah.
maybe it's not like fair to judge on that, but that's kind of what I judged on, I guess. After that, the next one I want to talk about is the second season of TONIKAWA Over the Moon for You. Yeah, this one. It's also in Japanese called Tonikaku Kawaii. And this is the one where I said it's about how there's this guy. His name is NASA. And basically, one day he gets hit by like a truck and almost dies. But this girl named Sukaza saves him. She just appears out of nowhere in the snow, saves him. And basically, when he sees her, he like instantly falls in love with her. And he says if she'll go out with him. And she says something along the lines of like, I will if you agree to marry me. And then just like disappears for like a few years of his life, just disappears for a couple years or whatever. And then sure enough, he kind of lives his life just, whatever, just kind of lonely, kind of whatever. And out of nowhere, she just shows up again and says, yo, I'm back. Let's get married. And they do. And basically the whole series is just about these newlyweds and their experiences and then learning about each other and stuff like that. And it's really cute, And basically the second season is just more of that. It's more of them getting used to each other, more of them going to do more like newlywed stuff, more of their relationships with other characters and stuff. There's an episode where they adopt a cat, which is pretty cute. They help one of NASA's former teachers, hook up with this other teacher because she's always like this kind of teacher who's always stressing. But once she sees that like her student that used to be like a nerd back in the day, it would always kind of get on her nerves. Once she sees how she's like how he's really mellowed out, NASA, how he's married, he's really happy. It kind of makes her think about her life and how maybe she should like slow things down and enjoy herself. So she ends up kind of hooking up with this other teacher. And so it's kind of cute where it shows that like, oh, like thanks to like, them, like they even help the teacher in her love life, which is kind of interesting. Then we learn about this. I guess they think they call it like her adoptive. I don't remember if they call it her adoptive aunt or something like that. There's like this older lady that apparently like she knows, Tsukasa. She knows
Yeah.
her from like the past, and that's where it kind of digs
Yeah.
into. I think I kind of talked about it before. That's really weird that it talks about the moon. There's a lot of moon imagery, and this character she's always been kind of mysterious. Like, what's her deal? That why do they keep talking about the moon, and why is there like these weird flashbacks of stuff with her? And yeah, this lady, she's the Minister of Education. She's been to the moon. She's been part of
Damn.
politics, a lot of stuff like that. And she's basically like kind of like adopted Casa at some point.
Yeah.
And yeah, they do call her grand aunt, her adoptive grand aunt. And even though it sucks, is even though they never quite pull the trigger and really telling us what Tsukasa's deal is, they give us more clues that yes, there is something up with her where she's either like immortal or she is like a deity or something having to do with the moon. Because yeah, they give us a shot where like you think that, oh, it's like World War II, and it's like the grand aunt is like an adult and she meets like a child Tsukasa and comforts her. But then at the end of the episode, they reveal like, no, it was Tsukasa that met the grand aunt when she was a little kid.
Oh my God, that's
So she's
weird.
been around for a while, which is like really wild. And then it shows that yeah, the grand aunt, she's been in space, she's been in politics and stuff. And she brought like a moon rock back to Tsukasa to like help like comfort her or something like that. So once again, they haven't really pulled the trigger yet in what the supernatural aspect is or whatever, but something's up with Tsukasa. Like there's more hints and more like okay, something's up with
Especially with
this.
the whole moon thing. It feels like it's like implying so
Yeah,
far
so
like
it
she's from the
seems
moon or something. Yeah.
yeah, it seems to be like there's that story about the whole moon princess thing.
Yeah.
It seems like she's tied to that story somehow. So it's just one of those things where they haven't pulled the trigger quite yet. They're still kind of just like spreading, breadcrumbs here and there. But we know more. It's like, okay, something's up with her age, something's up with the moon. It's probably gonna become important. Very strange. So that's just kind of interesting. It's kind of like, I wonder what the heck the deal is there. It's so weird they haven't revealed it yet. Really weird. But besides that, it's just very sweet anime about these newlyweds and how they love each other, and then them growing as a couple, and like I said, doing stuff like adopting a cat and helping, NASA's former teacher, and they finally at the end they moved back into their apartment. It's like a new apartment that got rebuilt because in the first season it got burned down and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I think it's pretty good. It's a really cute anime, really sweet. Seeing how they progress and learn about each other and stuff is it's nice. And there's always that mystery too, so I think that makes it interesting. And so I enjoyed it. And again, 12 episodes, standard. Another one that is on Crunchyroll. So, if you want to watch it, it's on Crunchyroll. At this point, I think both seasons should be on Crunchyroll. So, there you go. And I had fun with it. So yeah, there you go. So like
Sounds pretty cool.
it's called Tonikawa Over the Moon for You, also known as Tonikaku Kawaii. 12 episodes. On my anime list, it has a 7.6. Again, that's probably what I would give it. Maybe like a 7.5, maybe an 8. So a lot of these right now, they've been like a 7.5 or like an 8 for me. Everything I've talked about so far, because I think they're pretty good. They're like they're not great, but they're pretty good. I enjoy them and I recommend them. So yeah. So this next one, this is one that I maybe wouldn't recommend, even though it has a higher rating on my anime list than the previous one I just talked about.
Yeah.
I thought this one was pretty superficial, and I'll get into that in a moment. This one, of course, I'm talking about. It's one called My Love Story with Yamada-kun at level 999. In Japanese, it's called Yamada-kun to level 999 no koi wo soru. And this is the one that I had mentioned I did talk about it like 1 week, I think, that I watched like the first episode or two. And this is the one about how there's this girl, and her name is Akane, and basically her boyfriend breaks up with her because he tells her, straight out, there's this girl that I met through this MMO that we used to play. Because that's the whole
Yeah.
point, that she started playing an MMO with this boyfriend because he like got her into it. And basically she gets upset because the guy, he tells her, there's this girl that I met, I think, in that same MMO. And I have to be honest, I'm in love with this other girl, so I'm breaking up with you. And so she's really upset, and she's like really brokenhearted. And in the first episode, she kind of decides that in order to get back at him, oh, I'm gonna like doll myself up and go to like this event for like the game, and I'll make him like jealous or whatever. But then when she gets there, she ends up like having like a breakdown because she sees that the ex-boyfriend's doing really good, and he's with the girl who's like really cute, and they're like really happy together. And so she's like really upset. And as she's like gonna run away because she ends up like deciding, oh my god, I'm like a fool. What am I doing? She ends up running into this this gaming pro from like the area. That his name is Akito Yamada. So that's where the Yamada part comes from. And basically, in order to make her boyfriend jealous, she says, "Oh, I'm dating, Yamada, and he's my new boyfriend. I'm doing good. I don't miss you at all." And the boyfriend just kind of goes like, "Oh, good for you. I'm doing pretty good too." And like, "Wow, you're dating, the gaming legend. That's pretty cool." And he takes it really well, right? And so that makes her even sadder. And so she ends up going to like this like bar, like restaurant, whatever, with Yamada, and ends up kind of like spilling her guts to him about how she's all sad, and then gets like really drunk. And then the next morning she wakes up and she's like in like Yamada's bed, and Yamada's like at his computer playing games, and she wonders like, oh my god, did I sleep with him? Like, what happened? And he ends up revealing that no, you just got really drunk, and I don't know where you live, so I just like brought you home and let you sleep in my bed while I played like games all night. And also you threw up everywhere, and I had to clean that up. And so she's all embarrassed, and she like wants to run away. But from there, basically, it develops that yeah, this is where I say I think it's really superficial. That she thinks that Yamada is really good looking, and I guess because she's hurting from her previous relationship, she ends up falling for him. And from there, it kind of becomes about how they end up like bonding through the game, and she meets some of the other players in their guild, and she makes friendships with them, and they all kind of root for her to get with him, I guess. And Yamada, he's this kind of guy who's like really stoic and really like emotionless or whatever, and he doesn't really care about like dating or anything. But at the over time, he starts to care for her, and he falls for her, and so in the end, they do end up getting together, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
And that's why I said that. I don't know. Like, even though it has a 7.86, which is higher than I think some of the previous ones I talked about, I would say out of the ones I've mentioned up to now,
This
this
one's
is
like the
this is probably my least favorite, honestly. And honestly, if I think about it, I'll probably just say it now. It's probably my least favorite out of the season because I have like another four to still talk about. This is probably my least favorite because like it just felt very superficial.
like
Like,
this
even
one's
though
like
it
at the
was
bottom.
yeah, even though it was still kind of cute and it was still kind of fun, it had its moments, and seeing, this girl and, her relationship with the other guild members. And I don't know, it just felt very like superficial. It was just like, oh, like this guy's good looking, and he kind of just happens to be here while I'm upset. So he's like the rebound guy. And like, that's it. Like, there's not really anything that like, I guess he's nice. He like takes care of her. I guess that's why she also like falls in love with him, but there's not like any like really deep connection between them. You know what I mean? And like we never really
Yeah.
see why he likes her. It's just kind of like, oh, she's like attractive, and I guess she likes me, so like I guess I kind of like her back, I guess. But then like later in the season, there's like this girl that like, it looks like he has like a better relationship with from like school that also likes him and like confesses to him, but he like turns her down because no, he's like in love with Akane. So it's like
Yeah.
I just didn't really like buy like the relationship. It felt very much like I get it. Like it doesn't have to be like a deep relationship, especially like okay, they just started. So it's kind of like a nice place for them to start. But it's one of those things where it's like I feel like the anime really tries to sell it to us. That's like a very deep relationship we should be rooting for. And it's like I don't feel like I have a reason to root for it yet. I feel like okay, they got together at the end. That's cool. Now from here's where they should start like actually growing And like that's where from now do I want them to stay together? You know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's just like
Yeah.
I feel like there's other relationships they do so much better. And then like this one's kind of like, okay, they kind of just like each other and they get together. That's fine, but like why should I like root for them to like stay together? Like I don't know. It just like I said, I just felt very weak. I felt like it was like very superficial, very, surface level relationship. I don't know if like, if you follow the manga, I think like this is barely like, from here, like they get it like basically the manga doesn't end with them getting together, right? I think it from here it progresses, is what I've heard. So it's one of those things where it would be interesting to see the manga and say, okay, where do they go from here? Because where it ends is just kind of like, okay, that was fine, I guess, but like I don't really buy the
Yeah.
relationship. It's just like good for them they got together, but like it's not one of those like top tier romances, what I mean? Like there's other ones I can think of that are like way better.
Yeah.
I don't know. So it's just one of those things where like, it was just fine. I don't know. It took 13 episodes for them to get together though. Like why not just like have them get together like halfway through and then
Yeah.
from there we could see like where their relationship progresses the other half. But I get it. That's what a lot of romance anime do. They just kind of string you along and at the end they get together and that's where it ends.
Yeah,
So
this anime compared to the other ones you've mentioned, this one feels like the least like how do you call it, interesting one to me too. It feels kind of just like to be honest.
yeah, and I think this review on my anime list, I think that it's
Yeah.
like the first review when you're like looking for it. I think it really sums it up perfectly what I'm thinking too, because it says it'll say like not recommended, recommended, or mixed feelings. And this person has mixed feelings, and I think they really like sum it up what I'm thinking. It says right here, well, I enjoy this anime. I can't really recommend it. Why? Well, it is just like a bland soup that will fill you, but will not give you any lasting taste.
Yeah, it feels
So what do
bland, yeah.
yes, it says, so what do we have here? A girl after a breakup meets a gamer, and we follow their interactions for 13 episodes. Don't be fooled though if you thought, wow, a gamer, he is just like me. The man is a typical hot dude that has no rest from girls. And this is basically everything I can tell you without going through every episode, spoiling the events, because the flow of events is neither fast nor very varied.
Damn.
So yeah, it's just a chill show. They get together, it's nice, but like yeah, it's just very like bland. It's just very like
That's what it sounds like. It sounds very like the way the plot sounds too feels kind of boring too. It feels kind of like it's just like, oh, okay,
yeah, like I said,
yeah.
like what? Why do they like each other? Like we kind of know why she likes him because, like I said, I guess he's attractive. He was at the right place at the right time, where he's like, nice to her and helps her like rebound from like the other guy. But
But
like, why
what
does he
about
like her? We don't really know. It's just like
oh, he just
she kind
does.
of causes trouble, and he kind of is taking care of her, and he kind of just grows a bond with her because he's always taking care of her. I guess like I don't know. Yeah, it's just saying it's just really weird. Like it's just so bland. You know what I mean? And it's like a shame because there's some anime that like really sell it. You know what I mean? Like as I was thinking about it, because I was thinking like, okay, what makes a good anime? And it's like where like the characters they kind of seem to like certain things about each other. Besides like, oh, like you're attractive, and I guess like you put up with me. And I know it's like totally different. It has like nothing to do with it. But for some
Yeah.
reason, like the first thing came to my mind, like a good series that like sells it. One that came to mind to me, for instance, was like there's this one that it came out a while ago. Maybe I'll see if I like maybe cover it as like a for further in our podcast episode or something. But there's this anime that was called Plastic Memories, and without getting too into it, it was this really interesting anime where it's like a future where there's these androids and basically people have androids and they do
Dragon
stuff for them.
Ball.
They can be part of their family. Shut up. And because I guess once androids can only live like a certain amount of time, and once like they reach that certain amount of time, once they reach like their expiration date, they'll kind of like lose all notion of themselves and they'll kind of just go crazy, which is like really
Oh,
weird.
that's crazy.
It's one of those things where like I don't really remember why. Like I said, I'm just kind of just giving like a brief synopsis, but for whatever reason,
Yeah.
they reach their deadline, expiration date. They kind of go crazy. They like Hulk out. They have like no notion of themselves anymore.
No morality or
So they
anything.
created this like task force that is humans and android partners that they need to basically go to, where the people have their androids, like a home, and pick up the android before they reach that expiration date to like shut them down and have them like memory wiped and repurposed. And the whole point of where like the romance comes in is there's this guy that joins that force, and he ends up getting partnered with this android that it's really sad because I think she only has like a month or like it's anywhere from like a few months to like maybe like a month. I don't remember. But the point is like she's like really near the end of her lifespan. And that's what because like she's one of their best, she gets, partnered with this guy. And what makes it really tragic is that they end up falling in love. And it's like, damn, he ends up falling in love with someone that's literally going to reach her expiration date very soon. And so like, surprise, surprise, in one of the last episodes, he has to like, shut her down. And it's really sad because they're like on this Ferris wheel and she's saying all the stuff like she loves about him. He's saying stuff he loves about her. And that's what I'm talking about. Like that felt real. Because even though, yes, they only had a romance that was like very short, and you could almost like, oh, that's silly, do they really love each other? Like it really sells it to you because like the way they're talking about the stuff they love, like he talks about how I love you like because you're clumsy and you do this and that, and he's like talking about all these things even though they sound negative.
It feels more genuine. It sounds more genuine.
It's like very genuine, and it's very like he loves every like part of her, even like the bad stuff. You know what I mean? And it felt real. Like even though like they were only together for like a short time, like it was so real. You know what I mean? And that is like what like a real romance should feel like, not like this thing where it's like just so bland, It's so weird that made me think about that. Though it's like if you had them like in that Ferris wheel, I was thinking like, what would they say to each other? And it's like they probably wouldn't say anything because like they literally don't have anything going on. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm being so harsh on it, but like I say, I guess it's just because it's like my least favorite this season. So like, I guess something has to be at the bottom, and so like that's why I'm so critical of it. I guess.
Yeah.
So do I recommend it? No, I don't recommend it. I mean, you can still watch it for yourself, obviously, form your own opinion. But I would give it like a 5. I think it's very middle of the road. I think it's very mediocre, very average. It's 13 episodes. It's like that review said. I feel like it's very slow paced. Nothing really happens.
Damn,
but as always, it's up to you. It's on Crunchyroll. It's 13 episodes. You can watch it if you want, but it's one of those things where I don't recommend, surprisingly enough.
Yeah.
And once again, that is the one called Loving Yamada at level 999. So don't recommend. It's probably the only one this season that well, there's another one that maybe, but we'll get to that later. So far, this is like the one I don't recommend this season. Jumping over to one that I'll say it now, I do recommend. It's one that I mentioned watching like a few episodes, when the season first started. And it is the one called Skip and Loafer, or in Japanese, Skip to Loafer. So, yeah. And this is the one that, if you remember, I mentioned it's about how there's this girl. Her name is Mitsumi. Mm-hmm. And she is this country girl from like this really small town where basically I think she says that her like graduating class, middle school class was like, it's like a really small number. I forget what she says. Maybe like 8 people or something like that.
Damn.
It's like really small. And the whole point is that's why she wants to move to the city, because her big plan is that I'm going to move to Tokyo. I'm going to go to this prestigious school, and I'm going to use my education to like go to a big college, get into politics, and I'm going to help, like revitalize my town because, like there's like nothing there. And so basically she wants to use like her position to like help her town out, because there's nothing there and like people don't really stick around, stuff like we've heard of before. And basically what happens is on her first day there, because she's not used to like the big city, she gets lost on her way to school, and she gets rescued by a guy with blonde hair called Sasuke. And basically Sasuke is the opposite of her, that while she's like really energetic about school and she loves it, she wants to succeed and whatever, he's this guy that doesn't really go to school. He skips it whenever he feels like. On that first day, honestly, the reason he ran into her is because, well, she got lost. He was just going late because he didn't really care about like the entrance ceremony or anything. So he was just lazy, he was just going late. He had slept in. But sure enough, he saves her and he like leads her to the school. And as they're heading to the school, they're like 10 minutes away. He says, "Do you want to run?" And she says yes. And she like takes off her like, her shoes and socks, and she like starts running barefoot to, I guess, like get there faster. And when he sees that she's running, he kind of becomes inspired by her, because I guess it's like been a while since he's felt like, inspired by anything. When he sees like, whoa, this girl really cares, and she's like really putting like herself out there, it kind of inspires him a little bit. And so he runs to school with her. And basically that's where he learns that, like, oh, she's top of the class. And he learns all this stuff about her, how she wants to, like, get into politics and really help her town out. And basically the whole anime, it's kind of about these two characters that her at the beginning, she has a rough time, because she's from a small town. And so getting used to like the big city and like people being mean to her and bullying her and not like having the best first impressions and stuff. That's kind of what she deals with at the beginning. And he kind of helps her out because he kind of helps her, make friends and, better first impressions and get used to like the city and stuff. So that's kind of how he helps her out. And the opposite, the way that she helps him out, is that he kind of has like a dark past where he used to be like a child actor, but then like something about like I think like his mom was kind of like kind of like almost like kind of abusive about it, and like he's kind of estranged. Yeah, he's kind of estranged from his family now, where he has like this little like half brother that he doesn't really like talk to his family, like a lot of stuff like that, right? Like he doesn't really get along with his family. He has that like relationship with his mom that's really bad. And he doesn't even like really want to even do like acting, not even like at like school or anything as a club or anything, because like he kind of hates that part of his like past. And later we learn about how there's like this like thing too with this like fellow actress, this actress that he was like friends with back in the day, and there's like a whole thing there too where she's like guilt tripping him about something, blah blah. So the point is he has like a lot of like a dark past. There's like a lot of things happening. So basically he helps her by being her friend, helping her make friends, helping her get used to like the big city, and he's always kind of there as her support. And she helps him because she kind of gives him that inspiration to like leave some of that like dark past behind and like enjoy school and like look forward to stuff and like that sort of thing. And so it's just like this really nice anime about these two characters that through their friendship, kind of how they have opposing personalities, but they kind of help each other grow. And they help each other really enjoy school and like learn from each other and grow and stuff. You know what I mean? And I liked it. I thought it was like a really fun anime. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I thought it was really heartwarming. It is on Crunchyroll. This one was 12 episodes. Almost all of them have been 12 episodes this season. I didn't even like plan that, but almost everything has been like 12 or 13 episodes this season. And it was just like a very fun anime, and I really enjoyed it. On my anime list, it has an 8.18. And I would say that's probably what I would give it. I would give it like an 8, maybe 8.5 for this one. I would maybe go like even like a little bit higher because I just thought it was like a really well written story. It was really heartwarming. I had like drama, but it never like really brought it down too much. I don't know. It was just like a really nice anime. And I think the relationship between the two characters is really good. And I don't know if it'll become a romance at some point, maybe as well. That'd be interesting. And I don't know. Who knows if it might get a second season? I think it'd be cool if it would get a second season. We'd have to see. If not, I would be really interested to read the manga because, yeah, it looks like there's more of the story to tell. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. Just seeing like this fish out of water make friends and, enjoy her high school life and how she helps this guy, he helps her and stuff. I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really heartwarming, so I recommend it. Alrighty. As for the next one, this is the one that I think takes the cake for the diabetes. You know how I was saying that I thought Kubo-san Won't Let Me Be Invisible was like diabetes to the veins, and then there's one that like overtook it. That's this one. And this is one that I don't think I talked about. I don't remember if I ever talked about it. I think I ended up picking it up like in the middle of the season. But it is called My Clueless First Friend. It's also known though, because this one has like a few names. It's My Clueless First Friend, also known as The Clueless Transfer Student is Assertive. And in Japanese, it's called Jijo wo Shiranai Tenkosai ga Gugui Kuru. That one's like a long ass name, so I don't know if anyone's gonna even use the Japanese name, but I always kind of say it because maybe if someone catches like the first part, I know some of them people are like, oh right, the one's called like Jijo wo or whatever. And that's how they look it up, when they like look it up sub or whatever, you know what I mean? Anyway, the whole point of this one is pure diabetes. basically there's this girl. Her name, I just noticed there's like a lot of characters named Akane this season. Because you know how I
Yeah.
mentioned like an Akane
Yeah, yeah,
earlier?
yeah.
This girl name is also Akane. And I know for
Yeah.
another one I'm gonna talk about later, there's another Akane. There's a lot of Akanes this season. But there's this little girl, her name is Akane Nishimura. And basically she is this really quiet girl that people would probably even call her kind of like a goth look. Because she has black hair and it covers one of, the bangs cover one of her eyes. And she's always usually dressed in black, at least when we first see her. So you would say she's kind of goth looking. And basically, Akane, all of her classmates make fun of her, and they call her the Grim Reaper. And there's a few
Oh,
reasons they
yeah,
call her the
yeah,
Grim
yeah.
Reaper. One reason they call her the Grim Reaper is because, she looks goth. And so they're kind of say that, oh, she's gloomy and she's unlikable, whatever. The other reason that's kind of messed up that our main character learns later, so I'll just kind of throw it out there now, is because apparently her mom died giving birth to her. And so people call her the Grim Reaper as like say she's cursed, which is like super screwed up.
Yeah.
So yeah. So when the series starts, everyone's really bullying her, calling her the Grim Reaper. And so it's really sad. Like luckily the series is really lighthearted. So you never like feel like too sad. But it's one of those things where like, if the series wasn't so like heartwarming and stuff, it would be kind of sad. But luckily, they call her the Grim Reaper. It's kind of messed up. Luckily, though, there is a kid that transferred to her class, and his name is it's like Ty. I think they call him like Ty, like Taiyu. I think that's his name, like Taiyu or something like that. I think they call him Ty. I forget.
Yeah.
But the point is, there's this guy, and he transfers to her class, and when he hears all these kids calling this girl the Grim Reaper, instead of being afraid of her or thinking she's creepy or weird, this kid is kind of what you call, like there's like that Japanese thing of someone being a chunny, a chuniboya or whatever, or
Yeah.
it's like they have like a big imagination and they love to like play like pretend and a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah, like the
Um,
anime with the girl with the eye patch or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, or like we mentioned earlier, Megumin, when she's part of
She's
her
a
crew,
genie. Yeah.
they call her a how do you pronounce it?
Like I don't know. It's a Chunyu or whatever. I forgot how.
Yeah, the point is, yeah, I don't know. I thought maybe I'd said different, but the point is, he's kind of like that. He has a big imagination. He loves to play pretend. He loves to pretend he has powers and all, sorts of stuff. Would make sense though, because they're kids. They're literally like in like middle school, I think. But either way, the whole point is when he hears that she's a Grim Reaper, instead of being scared of her, he thinks that she is the coolest person in the world, and he goes, "Yo, if I hang out with you, does that mean you can curse me so I can also have like Grim Reaper powers?" And she,
That's
of course, gets all embarrassed because she's never had anyone call her cool and like be like this, like up in her face and complimenting her. But he basically thinks she's the coolest person in the world, and so he becomes like her best friend. And so what makes this so funny and what makes it so like heartwarming and like pure diabetes is that Taiyu is always complimenting her and he's always like making her blush, which is super cute. And he's always turning all of the bullying, like he twists it around in like the funniest way. All right. So he becomes her best friend. Instantly, he says that he thinks that she's awesome, wants to hang out with her. And thanks to him, not only does she like gain a friend for like the first time in her whole life, but he actually helps her get other friends too. So, for instance, there's a kid from their class that he always wears tank tops, and I think he's like the second best runner in the class. So when
yeah.
this like transfer student, is the best runner in the class, and they becomes friends or whatever, she becomes friends with the tank top kid, for instance. And that kid is really funny because he's like a really good wingman, and literally his whole personality is that he loves tank tops. Like to the point that's really funny. Like as a Christmas present, someone gives him a tank top, and he's really happy. And there's another
Yeah.
part where they're talking about dreams, and he says that he dreamt about the two main characters, and it's that he dreamt they were wearing tank tops.
Oh my God, that's good. Yeah.
Like he's so like one like single track mind, but it's like really funny. He's like
Where he has that
hilarious.
always. Yeah.
Yeah, and then later there's like this girl with glasses that becomes her friend because she has a crush on the tank top kid. So all of them hang out together, obviously. And there's this girl that bullies her at first, that over time, she also becomes her friend because she starts to realize that she's been mean or whatever. She feels bad about it, and etc. So that's what makes it really nice that, obviously she gains a best friend as well as a group of friends, thanks to this transfer student. But getting back to how he always makes her blush, though, like, oh my god, it'll be funny because, like, for instance, there's like this guy that wants to like bully her, right? Like, there's an episode where they go to like the pool, and he
Yeah.
goes, because the girl obviously she gets all excited, so she gets like a little, cute swimsuit or whatever.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah,
this,
I remember
yeah,
this.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think I showed you the clip. And our boy Tayu, who like he loves this girl, the Grim Reaper girl. He like loves her. He like goes everywhere with her. He always like loves to hold her hand and stuff. So he says that like that way he can like gain her powers or whatever. So they're at the pool, and the guy who makes fun of her, he says, isn't it illegal for the Grim Reaper to be wearing like a cute swimsuit? Because he's trying to make fun of her, like saying like, oh, if you're like a goth, shouldn't she be like be wearing like something ugly, I guess, and like goth looking?
Yeah.
And our boy turns it around. And he's like, did you hear that, Akane? He said that you're so cute that it should be illegal. And she starts blushing. And of course, the guy who's making fun of her gets mad. He's like, that's not what I said. And like, just stuff like that. Or like, he'll try to like talk crap about her. And our boy Tayu will always turn it around. Like, there's like another thing I'm trying to remember.
He'll interpret it a different way. Yeah.
Yeah. Like another thing where he says, like, I think it was like, oh, like, like, why? Oh, because he says that, like, oh, we hung out, we went to like the movies together or something as an example. And he's like, that's stupid. You hung out with the Grim Reaper. It sounds like you went on a date or whatever. And the guy's like, was it a date? I thought it was, I was just hanging out with my friend. He's like, well, if you're always hanging out with a girl, whatever, you're going on a date, this and blah, blah, it's a date. And then they think he's gonna be embarrassed. And he's like, oh wow, I can't believe I went on a date with a con and I didn't even realize it. Like the fact that I went on a date with like my first date with her, like that's super special or whatever. He's like all happy. It's like
That's
again,
so
he doesn't
cool.
twist it. And so he always twists stuff around. So
That's
like
pretty
if
cute.
they're trying to either like embarrass him or like make fun of the girl, and he always turns it into like something positive or something that ends up making her blush because it like he compliments her about being cute, about being like his favorite person, about how he loves to hang out with her, about how he thinks like she's super cool, about how he wants to like hang out with her like forever because like she thinks he's awesome, stuff like that. So he always makes her blush and he always turns around. And that's why it's like pure diabetes, dude. Because
Yeah,
like
it sounds
it's like
pretty
the
cute.
cutest
Yeah.
thing. And what's funny too is that like at first it's always like unintentional. And for like, he's always doing it and like the girl's always getting like embarrassed that he like never knows why. And you think like it's like, oh, okay, it's because like they're kids and he doesn't like really like think that way yet, I guess, about girls or whatever. But then later when they actually see like a couple kissing in the park and like he gets like embarrassed. And he just confesses to her like near the end of the season where he's like, "Can I kiss you?" Because they're on the balcony and it's at Christmas, and she's like, "No, you should only like kiss someone that's like special to you, this and that." And he's like, "But you are special to me. That's why I want to kiss you." And then she starts
Yeah,
like,
that's cute.
yeah, she starts blushing, and then like the other kids that come out and interrupt them, and then he's just like, what, it's okay. We'll pick this conversation up later. And it's
Yeah.
just like, damn, this dude like he like loves her. It's like the
Yeah.
sweetest thing ever. It's like super cute. And like that's what I'm saying. It's pure diabetes, dude. Like if you watch it, it's pure diabetes. That's like the cutest thing ever.
It sounds very cute. Yeah.
And it's just like so funny too, because like you would think it might get old, the joke about how he like, oh, misunderstandings and him twisting stuff around. But I swear it's always like the funniest thing. The way he like twists things around and like they can never make fun of him or like the girl. I think it's really sweet.
Yeah, it sounds pretty cute.
Yeah, so I recommend it. I think it's pure diabetes. People gave it like a 7.5 on my anime list. Nah, I'd give it like an 8.5. Easy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's like really sweet. I think it's really fun. It's one of those things where I don't know if they'll give a second season or whatever. I hope they do. If they don't, I'll probably like look up the anime then because I think it's really good. I think it's really cute. So I recommend it. And yeah, it is on Crunchyroll. This one was a bit different. It was 13 episodes because almost everything's been 12 episodes up to now. This one was 13 episodes, and I
Oh
recommend
wow.
it. Like I said,
Nice.
I recommend it. I think it's really sweet. I think it's really cute. And I think this is one of my favorites this season. Maybe not my favorite, but it's definitely like second or third.
Nice.
Yeah. So once again, that's called My Clueless First Friend, or The Clueless Transfer Student is Assertive. Very cute. Go check it out. I recommend it. I think this anime needs more hype because I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have two left. This next one, this one I have mixed feelings about. This is the other one I was kind of like, it's not that I wouldn't recommend it. I guess I do recommend it, but I do have to say that it is I have mixed feelings about it, I guess. I talked about it near the beginning when it first came out. I don't know if anyone remember. It's the one that's called Heavenly Delusion, aka Tengoku Daimakyu. I think that's how you call it.
Yeah.
And this is the one that I said that reminded me kind of like The Last of Us, because it was about these two kids. That one's this girl named I forget who's who actually. Damn it, what's their names? I'm so used to hearing their names together. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Kiriko and Maru. There we go. Maru's the guy, Kiriko's the girl. Basically, Maru's trying to reach a place that he calls heaven, and Kiriko is his bodyguard because she has like this like laser gun, and she's pretty good at fighting or whatever. And so Kiriko is leading Maru as his bodyguard to this place called Heaven. Meanwhile, there's this place that they keep showing us as this like facility where there's these kids, and it's really weird because there's these kids, and even though it looks like they're safe, there's always like this feeling that something's wrong and it's weird. Like, why are they in this facility? While in the outside world, everything's kind of like gone to shit. So it's really weird. So if you remember, I mentioned this one. And for the most part, it is a pretty interesting, like action series. And it's, post-apocalyptic or whatever. And I do enjoy the most part with them wandering around the world and finding these monsters and, it's pretty crazy environment and that sort of stuff. I thought it was pretty interesting. And I kind of liked at the beginning the mystery about these kids in the facility and why are they here? Why does it look like it's safe? But then again, it looks like there's something wrong. All that was really interesting. However, no, and for a while it was still good. Honestly, I would say I still was enjoying it up until like episode 12 specifically. Although the part about the kids in the facilities where it kind of started to lose me, it started kind of reminding me a little bit of Darling and the Franxx, where it's like, oh, there's these kids and they're in this facility and they don't really know about the outside world and they're trying to figure out, what's the truth about their universe. And, these kids, they're kind of, going through like puberty and they start falling in love and like, there was a lot of stuff like that. That I kind of didn't care for as much. I thought it was kind of meh. And then I won't like spoil it because I'm already going to spoil some stuff. But if you kind of see where that story goes, it's kind of like, oh, it's okay. I get it. Sci-fi stuff, but didn't really care for it. So I don't know. Like I like this part about them wandering the world and it's like messed up or whatever. And like that sci-fi stuff I like. But that stuff about the kids I didn't really like as much for that story went. Like I said, it kind of reminded me of like the worst part of Dolly and the Franxx about like, oh, these kids and like they're trying to hook up with one another and like that part I thought was kind of annoying. Then where the series lost me, and I'm just gonna, yeah, I mean, if you're listening to this, it's spoilers, of course. Where it lost me was episode 12.
So like the last episode?
It has 13 episodes. This is another 13 episode one.
Okay, so it would be
so we're
the second to last episode.
Sorry. And then the thing I said I wasn't gonna mention because it's like a twist you find out like in episode like 2 or 3.
Yeah,
is that apparently this is really weird, but Kiriko in the before times, because Kiriko's supposed to be like 20 now, and they're a bodyguard for Maru.
Yeah.
At some point, they were living like in a city with a bunch of like other like orphans or whatever, and I don't remember. Like the world was a little bit more normal, but they were like orphans and all worked together, blah blah blah. And then there was like an attack of like a monster for the first time, and then certain people got attacked, and that's where the twist comes in. That there was a character named Kiriko, and she had a brother named Haruki.
Okay.
And what's really weird is that during the attack, Kiriko died, and Haruki got like attacked. And when Haruki woke up, he was in the body of Kiriko.
What?
So basically, it's like his brain got transplanted into his sister.
Damn.
And so there's a part where like the character Maru, he expresses that he's like in love with Kiriko. It's like in the third episode. That's where we find out the twist. And Kiriko turns him down because Kiriko's like, yo, I don't want to disappoint you, but I have the brain of a guy, even though I'm the girl of the body of a girl, and so I'm not interested. And that's where he kind of explains his backstory, that part of like his motivation, her motivation, whatever, is that yeah, I'm the brain of a guy in the body of a girl, and I woke up, and obviously there's still like a scar, that's kind of covered by the hairline now. That yeah, like my sister died and I got put in her body for some reason, and I'm trying to reach also some doctor or whatever that I think did the operation to find out why. And so that's pretty crazy, pretty interesting. And, it's a pretty interesting twist. And it's really interesting seeing their relationship and, how they deal with all that and how they travel through the world, blah, 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 whatever. And one of the people that we find out that Kiriko used to hang out with back in the day was this character. And basically in the 12th episode, they reach this facility where Kiriko finds that friend. And it was this older guy that kind of used to be like a hero, and he used to take care of all the kids. And this is where like it's just like really ruined it for me. Basically, Kiriko's really happy to meet the guy or whatever and catch up or whatever. And the character tells him like, oh, I think like go take like a shower or whatever, and then we'll like catch up. And after Kiriko takes a shower, the guy ends up becoming just out of nowhere. This is why it's so weird too. Ends up just becoming like a huge asshole, huge degenerate that puts Kiriko in handcuffs and proceeds to just like rape Kiriko for like just proceeds to rape Kiriko, and even mess with the fact that like when he first saw Kiriko, he was surprised because I guess he knows that Kiriko should be like dead. And Haruki says, it's me, Haruki. I'm inside Kiriko's body or whatever. And the guy doesn't care. He even uses that as like a part of like the rape or whatever, and says, like, look at me as I'm like raping your sister's body. And it's like really weird. And that happens like for like episode 12 and episode 13. Maru finally catches up to like where Kiriko's been, and he like beats the shit out of the guy and almost kills him. But Kiriko tells them like not to or whatever, and they proceed on their way, and the guy disappears. And I even looked up in the manga because I looked up what's happened in the manga because it just felt like really jarring. And I had seen some people talking about it, and apparently that guy has just like never come up again, and they've never really mentioned. So it felt like they just did this for no reason.
That's so weird. Oh my.
Like the only reason I can kind of see is that it kind of causes Kiriko / Haruki to have like kind of like a identity crisis. And so I don't know if like some people have speculated that they think that it is not Haruki in Kiriko's body, that maybe it is Kiriko, but like it's some sort of like a mental block sort of thing. And that for some reason, like as like a coping mechanism, the whole, oh, I'm like my brain got transferred to this body, and then it might not be true. And so there is like a weird moment of like, who am I as like the, assault is happening. So I guess maybe that I can kind of see like that was supposed to be like the reason for it to like kind of cause that. But it was just really, I would say it's unnecessary. And the fact that apparently in the manga it hasn't led to anything either. So that just like really soured me on.
That's weird. That's not even like that's like really...
yeah, like the fact that I already wasn't very happy about it because of like the whole thing with like the kids and like where their story went. How I felt was really like like I wasn't really like liking that part of the story. And then the fact they throw that in there for like no reason, it's just like, dude, it like really soured me on like the series.
Yeah, it's super like,
and it's just one of those things where I'm not even saying that like, oh, any series that does like that thing, like, oh, it's like never necessary. I think there's some stories where like some people who know how to like write, they use it in a way that like it feels like it works.
It's like, it helps.
Like the thing that comes to my mind is like Berserk. Like Berserk is such a dark series that they have some of that stuff. And when they use it, like for instance, when the main antagonist Griffith does it, I think it works because it shows how far gone he is, and it really establishes him as the antagonist, and it shows that there's no coming back from him, and it shows that he really is throwing away all his humanity and stuff. You know what I mean? Like I feel like in a series like that, that's so dark, it works. And not to say that this series wasn't dark, but it didn't feel like it was dark in that way. And for it to just like do that, and then kind of like, it seems like it doesn't lead to anything. like it. And I've heard a lot of people like say that when a writer uses that, sometimes because they're a bad writer and they don't like know what they're doing, so they just throw that in there as like a crutch, and that definitely feels like how they used it here.
It was just something they threw in because, like, why? Yeah.
And especially because like, if supposedly it was supposed to be like for like a story reason of like, oh, like that's what I'm saying. First of all, it feels like it didn't like really make a story, like it adds to the story. And like let's say even if it was supposed to be like, oh, to cause that like identity crisis, and you're kind of wondering like, oh, what's like the real story going on here? It could have been done through other means. It could have even been done by like a close encounter with this happening, but it not actually happening even. But like,
I feel
no,
like
it just happened, and it happens in like really graphic detail, and like the way they describe it, it's just like so out there. And it's like, why? Like it's just so
yeah, it
bad.
sounds so weird, especially because there's other like medias we've seen where like people like there's like identity crises or like, oh, you're not like you're like the shell of some other person, you're a clone, you're this. We've seen examples where they've done it better. For example, I know like let's be honest, with Final Fantasy VII, the whole thing is Cloud kind of is like impersonating like Zack, if you think about it, especially later on. Or same thing with Roxas, where Roxas kind of sees the whole thing with like Sora and Kingdom Hearts. He's like dreaming all this stuff. He's kind of like, who's this Sora guy? And then later they're like, oh yeah, no, you're his shell. You're like no one. You're just this thing that just exists. And you're just based off of him, and you just believe in all this stuff that he does, and you just kind of feel that you've been in his shoes. It's like that, where it's all that stuff where they kind of establish it more better because it's like they confront the issue without having to go through like extreme means of like, I don't know, like for example, like right here with like rape and stuff. It's just like the person who's involved confronts the person and says, yeah, this is exactly what you are. And the person who's hearing this stuff has to kind of deal with it, you know?
And like once again, the point is we don't even know yet what the deal is. Like there was like this identity crisis, but we still don't know. It's just kind of one of those things where it's like, ah, okay, is it what we think it is, or is it not
Or is it just
straightforward? But we still don't know. And like I said, it feels like that added nothing except that it had the character literally, as they're suffering, have a moment of further identity suffering. But then it feels like people have said like in the manga, like it doesn't even like apparently like it
like
doesn't
it doesn't
matter.
lead anywhere, basically.
So I don't know. So this one, a lot of people seem to like it. I'm in the minority, where I just didn't really like it. Like if there's a second season, I don't think I would watch it. I just didn't really care for it. Like hey, that's the thing too. I don't want to sound like, oh, it's because it was too dark for me or whatever. Because I can handle dark stuff. I've watched very dark stuff, but it's just the like it just felt like it was out of nowhere and it didn't add anything to it. Plus, like I said, I'm gonna say it again. I just didn't really like the storyline where it went with the kids in the facility. I just didn't really like where that went. So when you combine that part, which is like half of it, and it was like a big part of the mystery, to what happens in the last couple episodes, to, like one of the main characters, I just didn't really enjoy it. And like I said, it's just one of
Yeah.
those weird things where I don't want to make it sound like, oh, it's because I can't handle things that are dark. It's just that, I think there's stories that use themes well, and there's some that use it really badly. Again, another one that I think uses, the whole rape thing bad. And it's, you know, there's this anime from a few years ago that was called Magical Girl Sight that was super edgy. It was basically about
Yeah.
magical girls having powers, but they would like kill one another, and there's like this sight, and there's like these demons from another world, and blah blah blah. And like the main character, it's all edgy, where everyone tells her to like kill herself, and
Damn.
like the whole thing's super edgy, all right, and it's super dark, but it was always like dark in terms of like violence and in terms of like being like edgy. So in like
Yeah.
the last episode, when the brother, because she has a brother that's always abusive to her, that's part of it, right? And basically he
Yeah.
gets in on the whole magical girl thing by trying to like steal one of like the magical girl items, and he wants to like also like become like a ruler or whatever, blah blah blah. So the point is, when the brother, who's a total scumbag, in the last episode gets caught by like this bad guy who seems to like know more about like what's happening, and he like ties the brother up, and then like it
Yeah.
just like he starts to unzip his pants, and it's like, oh, apparently he rapes him, and that's like one of the last things we see before the season ends. Like that was out of place too, even though that
That
was
that
another
sounds very
yeah,
yeah.
even though that was another series where like it was dark the whole way through and it always was edgy. The fact that it was that, but like in terms of like violence and atmosphere, like for that to just come out of nowhere, that's another series where it feels like that theme was used very like weirdly. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there's stuff like, you know, for instance, there's stuff like Berserk where I think it's used in a more mature manner where it makes sense. And there's stuff like this where it feels like it was just thrown out there because the writer didn't know what else to do because the writer is a bad writer. So that's what I'm trying to say. That it's not that like, oh, I can't handle dark, you know, like, oh, you know, well, maybe you can't handle dark stuff. You're only watching, you know, all these like other lighthearted stuff. No, it's not that. It's just that I feel like it was like just not very well written. And I feel like the direction is just very bad.
It
and
just went downhill, yeah.
So yeah, so this one I am very mixed about it. I guess you can check it out. I mean, it has some stuff that, like I said, like is pretty cool Last of Us, you know, stuff, some cool sci-fi stuff, a lot of mystery and stuff. But overall, I probably am mixed on it. So
Would
when
you
I say,
recommend it?
well, that's what I'm saying. I'm mixed. So same as, you know, how I still like on Crunchyroll, it said, I mean, on my anime list, it says recommend, don't recommend, or mixed.
Yeah.
This is one where I'm just very mixed. So it's up to you based on what I've said if you want to check it out or not. It's 13 episodes. It's supposed to be on Disney Plus or Hulu.
Damn.
I don't know. A lot of people give it 8.24. So it is pretty highly ranked. But personally, I'm mixed. I probably, like I said, probably wouldn't go back for a second season. But that's me personally. So, yeah.
Damn.
Alrighty, and finally, the last anime I'm going to talk about, because there's one more. If you guys remember, there's one called Insomniacs After School. Unfortunately, it did not end with the other ones. This one wanted to be a rebel. It's not going to be over until next week. So I'll talk about that next week. Insomniacs After School I've really enjoyed, though. But another anime that I really enjoyed, I'll say here at the top, and that we had talked about at some point that we said we thought it was like really good with the potential, and I would say did a really good job, is the one called Oshi no Ko.
Yeah.
There's not really like a translation for it. I've seen people say it's called like My Idol or My Star, you know, stuff like that, but no one really uses the name. So if you want to look for it, you probably will have to look up Oshi no Ko. This is the one that we had tried to not really spoil it. That we had said that, okay, it's about like there's this idol and, you know, she's hiding that she has a pregnancy and there's this doctor that's taking care of her and, you know, that sort of thing, right? And we had said that, oh, it's really interesting. It's made by the guy who made Kaguya-sama Love is War and, you know, blah, blah, blah. So getting into full spoilers, because this is where we have to get spoilers in order to like say what it's about, because I don't remember how far we went. But going full spoilers, it ends up that the guy who is the girl's doctor, her name is Ai Hoshino. She's a pop idol. She gets pregnant with twins, and she's hiding it because, you know, in the idol industry, you can't even say you have like a boyfriend or anything because the dumbass fans get mad because no, you're always supposed to love me. I don't know why that exists. I think that's beyond stupid. Like, obviously, you don't have a chance with the freaking person on TV, like snap out of it. But no, she has to be perfect because I have to pretend that I can get with her. I don't know why. Point is, so she's hiding her pregnancy, and there's this doctor taking care of her. And basically, as he is going to deliver her baby, a person pushes him off a cliff as he's like kind of like just using his phone and just hanging out outside. He pushes him off a cliff and kills him. And so this character, this doctor, when he opens his eyes, he has all his memories, and he has been reincarnated as the male twin of I. So that's where it gets really crazy. And then there's this patient that he had, and that's where he learned about I in the first place. This like 12-year-old, I think she was like 12, 14, I forget, that she was like a cancer patient that died. And so he was really sad when she died, obviously. And she's the one who told him all about I and stuff. And little does he know that she is reborn as I's female girl twin baby. So both these characters, I knew each other in a past life and were friends, and it's even said that like the cancer patient had a little bit of a crush on like the doctor and stuff. They're reborn as twins, and they become the twins of this famous idol, and they have their memories, but neither tells the other like the previous life or whatever. And so it's kind of funny where we see that they're like these smart babies that they know everything and they know who I is, and they think it's like an honor to be like reborn as her children, blah blah blah. Pretty funny. Where things go south, though, and this is kind of where like the story picks up, though, is that someone knew that I had kids. And so this fan comes and he murders her. And then because though I like in her closing, her final breath, she basically says that she like isn't like mad at the guy for killing her, and she like feels bad, and that she feels bad about like lying about stuff, and that I don't know how to explain it, but she like isn't like she doesn't like hold a grudge as she's like basically dying. She's being very like merciful and stuff. And basically we find out the guy killed himself after that. So it looks like, case solved, right? But as this doctor, now reborn as Aqua, as him and his twin Ruby are growing up, or like shortly after, he realizes, wait a minute, that's not the end of the case, because the only person that seemed to know about Ai's pregnancy was their mystery father. And so that means that the father had to have leaked it to somebody, and that's why this guy came and killed Ai. And so basically, Aqua devotes himself that he is going to join the entertainment industry, and he will find who his mystery father is, and he will have his revenge and kill him, as revenge for what they did to Ai, and the fact that I guess he got killed in a previous life too, because that seems to be part of it, like the whole conspiracy. And so he says he's going to get revenge, and so that's a really good premise. That's what we were talking about when we said it had like really good potential, right?
Yeah.
And so
Cut
to the end of the season. It had 11 episodes. This one was a bit shorter, but that first episode was like really long, so I guess it kind of makes up for it. And basically it's all about how now Aqua and Ruby, they're 16. They go to this school. It's like for people that want to be entertainers. Where we start, Ruby wants to be a idol like her mom, and so we kind of see her pursue that. And as for Aqua, he did a bit of acting as a child, but then he thought he wasn't too good at it, so he kind of quit. But basically, he gets a chance to get back into the entertainment industry to kind of like pick up his revenge. And that's kind of where we pick off, that he, is like doing these acting gigs and getting used to all these people in the entertainment industry to try to find a lead on who his mystery father is. And, they meet all these other characters. Like there's this girl with red hair. That's another Akane. No, wait, actually, no, she's not Akane. There's this girl with red hair. I'll mention Akane in a moment. There's a girl with red hair named Kana that she still kind of holds a bit of a grudge against Aqua, because when they were kids, he kind of like did better than her. But then as it progresses, she kind of has like a crush on him, and she ends up joining, Ruby's idol group. And there's this other girl. It's like a whole YouTube, streamer or whatever. She ends up joining the group. And then there's this girl named Akane. It's this girl with blue hair that basically she has like these ideas about Ai, and because she's like this actress, almost like a method actor, she tries to get into like the mind of like the characters, and she has some ideas about Ai. And so Aqua is kind of like using her to try to see what information he can get out of her and stuff. And so it's just like this really interesting anime about these two twins trying to get into the entertainment industry, one as an actor and one as an idol, and we kind of see the relationships they form. But there's also the whole background thing about Aqua and how he's trying to use these connections to try to find out who his father is and stuff. And it's just like really interesting. And it's really interesting too, because not only is there like this whole mystery and everything, but it also says like a lot of like about the entertainment industry. Like it deals with like this person that they act too much of themselves in like this like reality TV show, and so everyone like bullies her, and we see like the ramifications of that, and we see, like I said, the ramifications about like the idol industry and how idols are treated and stuff. And there's a character that we see the ramifications of her having to lie about her age, because if you're over a certain age, people don't really care about you as an entertainer. And even Kana, she's a former child star, and she's struggling with the fact that people kind of like used her when she was young and kind of threw her to the side, and so she's struggling with like getting gigs and stuff. And so it's a
Yeah.
really interesting series that has to do with like reincarnation, has to do with showbiz, has to do with getting revenge. It's like a mystery about who the father is and trying to make the connections and stuff. So it has like all these things going on, but I think it's like really, really good. And seeing how Aqua uses people, I don't know, he like really manipulates people too. So I'm kind of wondering what direction that'll go in, because it kind of reminds me a little bit of like Light, the way he kind of manipulates and uses
Oh,
people.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So a lot of people I've even seen, people I've read farther, they even said they're wondering if he might be going for like a kamikaze sort of thing, where like there might not be a happy ending for him. We'll have to see where that goes. And like, I don't know, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. Probably might be my favorite anime of the season because it's just so fresh and so unique. You know what I mean? So I really recommend it. I think it's worth watching. On my anime list, it has an 8.94, so just shy of a 9. I'd probably give it like a 9 easily, you know. 9 out of 10. I think it's really good. I think it's really good. It's 11 episodes, but like I said, since the first episode was like 2 together, it ends up basically
That's all I
being
was gonna
like,
say.
it ends up basically being what, like 12, 13 episodes either way.
Like 12, 13 episodes, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, really good. Just ended. I really enjoyed it. And this is a weird one though, because this one is on High Dive. So that's another High Dive one. So really, really big one, but it's on High Dive. That's what I'm saying. High Dive's really getting up there with the anime that's like, you
A
know, getting hold
lot
of.
of anime around
It's getting a lot of the big ones. So there you go. You know? But I recommend it. I think it's really good. I am sorry that I kind of had to like, you know, spoil some of the stuff, because I'm telling you, the more you go in blind, the better. But for people who were kind of unsure of to watch it, maybe I convinced you to watch it, because like I'm saying, it's really, really good.
It's a really good anime, yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say watch it. I'd say this is probably one of my top one of the season. And yeah, the only other one that I think is also really good, maybe I would put it second place, is Insomniacs After School. But that'll have to wait until next week because it decided to be a rebel. And like I said, it didn't end with the other ones, unfortunately.
So that would be that, yeah.
That would probably be like my second one, probably. Alrighty, guys, but there you go. That is my anime roundup. So once again, just to list all of them off, that way you guys can look them up real quick, just one last time as we close off. So it was Kubo Won't Let Me Be Invisible, which I recommend. KonoSuba, An Explosion on This Wonderful World, which I mostly recommend. I think it's pretty good, though I still kind of wish season 3. That's why I'm fingers crossed. TONIKAWA Over the Moon for You season 2, I recommend. Loving Yamada at level 999, wouldn't recommend it. I thought it was pretty shallow. I think you can do without it. Skip and Loafer, I recommend. My Clueless First Friend, I really recommend. I think it'll give you diabetes. It's really sweet. Heavenly Delusion, mixed feelings. Like I said, I feel like there was some stuff that kind of killed it for me. However, it is rated very high, so maybe some people will enjoy it more than I did. And finally, Oshi no Ko, really recommend. Might be my favorite of this season. So there you go, guys. A big list. I'm looking at the time of this recording. Wow, we have gone a lot. It's probably our longest podcast to date. But there was so much to cover. So, you know, oof.
Yeah.
But there you go, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully you guys have a list of things you want to watch now. And hopefully you guys will check out some of this anime. Next week we'll try our best to be back. We'll see what we talk about. You know, we're starting a new anime season. We'll see what anime are the good ones to watch. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, until next time, hopefully you guys enjoy this podcast. Hopefully you guys have an idea of what you want to watch, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.